Welcome to this deep dive, and today we're diving into Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist.
It's a story that I think really speaks to anyone
Oh, yeah?
searching for their own personal legends.
Mm,
Reminds us that often it's the journey that matters most, not the destination.
yeah, I love that. And right away, we meet Santiago, just this shepherd, content with his sheep, wandering. He seems happy with the simple things, kind of like when we get comfy in our routines.
Right.
But then, bam, this recurring dream pops up, pushing him towards something more. What makes Santiago actually listen to that pull and leave everything he knows behind?
You see, that comfort he has, that's what makes his choice so powerful. He chooses the unknown, the uncertainty over the familiar, and that's often the scariest but most rewarding step we can take.
You're so right. And on this journey, he meets, oh my gosh, so many different people. We have a mysterious king, a really kind crystal merchant, even a thief who teaches him a hard lesson about trust, of course. But it gets you thinking, are these just random encounters?
Not at all. Each one, no matter how brief, offers Santiago a valuable lesson.
Oh, for sure.
Like the king, for example. He stresses how important it is to pay attention to the omens, the little ways the universe tries to guide us to our purpose. And you remember that story about the drops of oil? And the secret to happiness.
Oh, right. The word where the student is so focused on not spilling the oil, he misses the beauty of the whole palace.
Exactly.
It reminds you to really be present, savor every experience, even while you're striving for your goals.
Exactly. It's all about balance, appreciating the journey while keeping your eye on the prize, right? And then there's this whole other idea that pops up, the soul of the world. This force connecting everything. Have you ever felt that interconnectedness where things just align in a way that feels meaningful?
Oh, absolutely. That's those aha moments when you realize there's something bigger at play.
That's the soul of the world in action. Coelho suggests that by tapping into that energy, we can achieve incredible things. But it all begins with recognizing our own place in this big web of life.
Speaking of incredible, we can't forget the alchemist himself, this mysterious figure, always speaking in riddles, always appearing when Santiago needs guidance most. What do you think about the alchemist's, well, interesting way of communicating?
It actually mirrors how we encounter mentors in real life, even our own intuition sometimes. Think about it sometimes. The most profound guidance comes in whispers, in these subtle nudges that we have to decode. That's what the alchemist represents, that inner voice challenging Santiago to trust his gut.
Totally. And then there's Fatima, throwing a wrench in everything, just as he's focused on finding this treasure. Bam, love at first sight.
And this isn't just any love story. This relationship really challenges what Santiago thought he knew about following his personal legend.
So true. At first, he's torn about staying with Fatima, about giving up his whole quest. But Fatima, and she's so wise, she sees it differently, doesn't she?
Oh, absolutely. She reminds him that true love shouldn't hold back our dreams, it should push us towards them.
Exactly. She doesn't make him choose between love and his ambition. She gets that his journey is a part of him and encourages him to go for it. But of course, no hero's journey is without its challenges, right? Coelho doesn't go easy on Santiago. There's theft, tribal wars, that constant fear of failing. Remember when he considers giving up on the treasure and going back to his sheep?
Right.
I felt that in my soul.
Those challenges, though, they're not setbacks. They're stepping stones for Santiago. He learns to trust his gut, to adapt, and to see obstacles as opportunities to grow.
It's a powerful message about resilience, something we can all relate to. Life's full of curveballs. It's how we handle them that defines our journey. And speaking of the journey, Santiago's trek through the Sahara Desert is intense.
Oh, yeah, the desert, it becomes like this whole metaphor in itself. Yeah, the desert, it's more than just a setting in The Alchemist. It's like this powerful metaphor for everything Santiago's going through internally.
Internal.
The vastness, the isolation, even just the fact that it tests his endurance every step of the way.
Totally.
It pushes him to his absolute limit. Forces him to really confront his fears and discover this inner strength he didn't even know he had.
It's like the desert strips away everything he thought he knew, everything he depended on, and leaves him completely vulnerable.
Exactly.
But somehow in that vulnerability, that's where he finds his resilience.
Exactly. And, the desert, it's a lot like life in that way, right?
Right.
Throws these challenges at us, forcing us to dig deep and tap into these hidden reserves we didn't even know we had.
Yeah, totally.
And like we talked about earlier, Santiago, he's not alone in this. He joins that caravan headed for Egypt, And I think that shared journey adds a whole other layer, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's not just about his own personal transformation anymore.
Right.
It's like the caravan becomes a sort of microcosm of that soul of the world we were talking about.
Exactly. Each person there, from the camel drivers to the merchants, they all depend on each other to survive. They share their knowledge, their resources, their experiences, and it becomes this kind of collective wisdom, really highlights how interconnected life is. Even when our journeys feel solitary, we're never really truly alone.
You're right. And it's within that shared journey that he meets that camel driver,
Right.
the one who lives by that, saying, I'm interested only in the present. Do you think it's really possible to always live in the present like that, especially when you're working towards some big goal in the future?
I think it's a question we all struggle with,
Mhm.
and I don't think the camel driver's words are meant to be taken literally.
Right.
It's more about finding that balance, right? Keeping your eye on the prize, but not forgetting to appreciate the beauty and the lessons in each moment as it comes.
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's a certain freedom in that idea, too, like a release from all those anxieties about the past and the worries about the future.
Absolutely. And, it ties into another really interesting concept that we see in the story, Maktub, this idea of it is written.
Oh, right.
This notion of fate, a preordained path. It seems kind of at odds with the whole idea of pursuing your personal legend, doesn't it? How do we reconcile those two things?
That's a good point. It's like saying we should surrender to this bigger plan, except that some things are just out of our control.
Right.
But then within that surrender, there's also this weird sense of liberation.
Oh,
Is this
absolutely. And Maktub, it's not about giving up.
Right.
It's about trusting that there's this underlying order to the universe, even when things seem completely random and chaotic.
Oh, totally.
It's about accepting those twists and turns on our path and knowing that they're all leading us exactly where we need to be.
And isn't it interesting how Santiago's journey keeps proving that point? Like, despite all the detours, the setbacks, the times he doubts himself, he keeps getting drawn back to that path of his personal legend.
Exactly. And even when he gets robbed, that's huge. He lost everything he had earned.
Yeah.
You think that would have made him give up.
For sure.
But he finds a way forward.
Yeah, that scene with the refugees who rob him, it's really powerful. It shows you this darker side of human nature, this desperation that can lead people to do some pretty drastic things.
It's true, but even in that encounter, we see how dreams connect us in these unexpected ways.
Oh, totally.
Remember how the leader of the refugees, he tells Santiago about his own recurring dream?
Yes.
About a treasure buried under a sycamore tree?
And the location he describes.
It's the same abandoned church where Santiago had his very first dream about the treasure.
It gives me chills just thinking about it. Like, it's all connected.
Right. Full circle.
It's like no matter how much we wander,
Mm-hmm.
our journeys have a way of leading us back to ourselves.
I love that. And it really makes you think about all the hidden connections in our own lives, right?
Absolutely.
Those seemingly random encounters that might actually be guiding us towards our own destinies.
It's true. And speaking of journeys, Santiago, he finally reaches that oasis, El Fayum.
Oh, yes.
Such a stark contrast to the desert. Why do you think Coelho brings in this whole oasis setting at this point in the story?
Well, for one thing, it gives Santiago a much-needed break from the harshness of the desert,
Definitely.
like a chance to breathe and reflect on how far he's come.
Yeah,
But I also think it presents a different kind of challenge, don't you think?
totally. Yeah.
The oasis, it represents this promise of tranquility, with all its beauty and lushness.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a place where Santiago's heart is really going to be tested, not just his physical strength.
Because that's where he meets Fatima.
Exactly. Fatima, she turns his world completely upside down. Here he is so focused on his quest for this treasure, and suddenly, bam, love at first sight.
Right. Like, what are the chances? And it's not just any love story either.
Not at all.
It makes Santiago really question everything he thought he knew about his personal legend.
It's true. At first, he even struggles with the thought of staying with her, like he thinks he has to choose between her and his dream.
Yeah.
But Fatima, she's wise. She sees things differently.
She really does.
She reminds him that true love, it shouldn't hold us back from our dreams. It should actually empower us to pursue them.
It's like she's saying, go for it. I believe in you.
Exactly. And she's not asking him to choose.
Yeah.
She understands that his journey is a part of who he is,
Mm.
and she encourages him to embrace that fully.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example of the kind of love that sets us free to be our best selves.
Right. The kind of love that doesn't hold us back but pushes us forward, knowing that the journey will only make us stronger whether we're together or apart.
I love that. And let's not forget, it's also at the Oasis where Santiago finally comes face to face with the alchemist.
That's right.
It's this meeting that's been building up the whole story.
The whole time. And it's not what you'd expect, is it?
Not at all.
No big reveal, no easy answers or anything like that.
Nope.
The alchemist doesn't just tell Santiago all the secrets of alchemy.
Right. It's way more nuanced than that.
Oh yeah, their conversations, they're full of riddles and metaphors and advice that makes you really think. It's like the alchemist is pushing Santiago to find those answers within himself.
Like he's saying, you already have what you need.
Exactly. He sees that Santiago already has that wisdom. The challenge is trusting his intuition, listening to his heart, and then taking action.
It's like the alchemist is guiding him toward a deeper understanding of himself, right?
Yeah.
Just giving him a map,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
He knows that you can't just teach someone real wisdom. It has to be experienced.
That's so true.
So he leads Santiago not to a specific place, but to a deeper awareness of the journey itself.
I love that. And eventually the alchemist decides to part ways with Santiago for that last leg of the journey. It's such a bittersweet moment. You can feel the uncertainty, but also this sense of readiness.
Right. It's like he's saying, you've learned to listen to the world, to your own heart. Now trust it. That's a big step in any journey, when you have to let go of the hand that's been guiding you and step into your own.
It's terrifying and exciting all at once, right? And it's not easy, that's for sure. Santiago, when he's finally at the pyramids, he meets this group of refugees people fleeing those same tribal wars that have been in the background of the whole story. It's like this dose of reality. Even with everything going on in our own lives, the world keeps spinning,
Absolutely. And it highlights how complex people are. These refugees, they're desperate. They represent a completely different side of humanity than the wisdom Santiago's been seeking. It reminds us that not everyone we meet is going to be, well, good.
That's for sure. And tragically, they attack him. They take everything he's worked for. The gold he earned from selling his sheep. I mean, talk about a blow. It makes you question everything.
It does. But even then, Coelho finds this thread of hope. Like, even the worst moments can hold these amazing revelations. Remember what the leader of those refugees tells Santiago?
Oh, about his own dream.
Yeah, the dream about the treasure buried under that sycamore tree.
And the place he describes.
Is the same church from Santiago's very first dream.
Chills. It all comes back around. Like, no matter how lost we get, our journeys are always leading us back to ourselves, back to our own wisdom.
I love that. It makes you think about all the little things that happen, the chances we take that might be nudging us towards our destiny,
100%. And so he goes back to Spain, to that church, and under the sycamore tree, he finds it. His treasure. Some people might think it's, anticlimactic that he ends up where he started, but that gold, it represents something way bigger now, right?
So much bigger. It's like the physical form of all the lessons he learned, the risks, the wisdom. It's the culmination of his transformation. The real treasure, as he discovers, was never really out there, but inside him all along.
And that is a message everyone needs to hear. It's not about reaching some destination. It's about the journey of self-discovery, the pursuit of our own personal legends that unearths the treasures we already have within.
Absolutely. The Alchemist, it reminds us to really listen to our intuition, to trust the signs we're given, and to embrace the power of chasing our dreams.
This whole deep dive into The Alchemist, it's really been something. It makes you think about your own life, your own purpose, long after you finish reading.
It really does. It's a reminder that the best things in life, wisdom, love, growth, they're not about the destination, but the journey itself.
So well said. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm filled with this sense of, possibility. Like, the universe really is rooting for us to achieve our dreams, just like it did for Santiago. So to everyone listening, what will you do today to take that one step closer to your own personal legend? Think about it. And until next time, keep searching, keep dreaming, keep following your heart.